Hey everybody, you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, and I am your host, Andrew Davis, and this episode is brought to you by my very own sponsor, which is my class coming out on October 5th, talking about comic book investing. So if you want to learn the fundamentals of how to invest in comic books, my class is for you. It's coming out October 5th. It's going to be on Udemy, Substack, Locals, and wherever else you can get it. But I'm not going to bore you with the rest of my sponsorships because I have with me voice actor Daniel Baugh, who is the voice of Jimbei from One Piece. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. Glad to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited because I'm stoked for One Piece Red. That's coming out soon, and some other stuff's going on, and obviously a lot of fun stuff's going on in the anime right now. And I promise everybody we're gonna get to Jimbei in a second, but I am curious how you got into acting and voice acting because I think it is a slightly untraditional path how you got into voice acting per se.
Yeah. I'm a little different voice actor than kind of most of them. I mean, I do have my website and stuff like that, and I do take it seriously. But it is also like a side thing that I do. I do have a regular life, um, but I started, I guess you could say, even as a child, because growing up, I was always entertaining my childhood friends doing impressions of old people and stuff. So I was doing old people before I got old. Now I'm doing it for real. Um, so I've always done voices and done acting and stuff. Not so much in high school, other than I was doing some independent films with a local guy named Lee Cates in Dallas. I did some like underground stuff. Um, and then I started thinking, oh yeah, I kind of like this. So I started taking some college courses at community college, Richland College. They have a great theater course here in Dallas, Texas. And I took some courses there. Um, then fast forward about 10 years, so I didn't really do anything with my theater other than doing plays at the college level and stuff. Um, I was introduced to the Pocket Sandwich Theater, which is an institution in Dallas, Texas. It's a local theater. It's a for-profit, one of the only for-profit theaters that make money. um, and so it's like a dinner theater where they throw popcorn at the villain. Uh, so they have melodramas. And so I started acting there on stage and did hundreds of performances, different shows. Then I became a director, directed some shows. Um, while I was doing all that, that's when I met Jade Haley Saxton, Jade Brennan Saxton now. And she was doing voice acting out at Funimation. And I was kind of interested in what she was doing. Didn't really think about it that much. I worked at a bookstore at the time, and we had an anime and a manga section, but I pretty much didn't mess with it. Didn't go over there. I stayed in my sections and stuff. Didn't understand it at first how big it was. I had no clue how big it was. My only introduction to anime was back when I was a child. I watched Speed Racer and King Kong from Translux, and that was about it. So once I found out about the voice thing, I said, "Yeah, that sounds interesting." So she kind of told me where the company was, and I got in touch with them and got on a email list for possible auditions and such. And then everything kind of rolled from there. I did a few auditions. They called me in to do what's known as Walla, which is just kind of background voice acting. And then eventually that led to Jimbei.
So let's back up for a second because I think one of the things that people forget about voice acting, and I'm going to say something that I'm going to get a little flack for, but a lot of people can do impressions. I think people think that voice acting is just impressions or being able to change your voice and or even match a voice, and that's a part of it to some degree. But I think people forget that there is a side of acting to it because the voice is what comes before the actual word acting. And so, what was this like for you having that background and having that theater and also having the directing experience and stage plays, because I think that's what really brings out a character in a lot of ways. And I think that's
Yeah.
what people forget is a lot of the people in Funimation now, they were taking and getting, some of them have MFAs, some of them went to college for acting. And I think that's what people forget is that it's not just about, can I make a funny voice? There is an acting component. So what was that like coming in? Because I think that's what is sort of where things are going with voice acting and the way I see it as an outsider.
Right. Yeah, because of my route through the theater, it was a little different. The main thing that I was concerned about going into it was the protocols and such. And so I actually took a course. I didn't take a lot of voice training courses, but I did take a voice acting course, not a voice acting course, but just an introduction to voice acting course from Lambert Studios here in Texas. And they teach all the things about what not to do, like not grab the microphone, adjust it yourself, allow them to do it, and when to roll and how to talk and things like that. But as for the theater side, yeah, it was strange because I've always had this Rolodex in my mind of different characters. Usually actors do, but when you take on these roles of these characters, from what I do is I pretty much treat it just like I'm reading a script. The only confinement is I don't have the movement. And sometimes that happens in the booth. I'm in the crowded booth that's sometimes no larger than like a phone booth, literally. And I've got to be running. And so to get that sound of running, I like to move my body, move my arms and everything. And sometimes I'll flail my arm and hit the mic and, oh, crap. Sorry, engineers. So that's kind of the hardest thing I had to overcome. But I always approach the role from an actor point of view. The directors have always been really good at giving you a synopsis of the scene and a little bit of the motivation behind it and what the goal is and everything like that. And depending on the director, they may say, yeah, just go for it. Let's see what you got. And I love that because that gives me the full theater thing. I can, if I fall back on a character that I think is like the one that I have, or then adjust a little bit for height or weight, what they look like, social status, things like that. Those are all the things that you learn in theater. How to carry yourself, because it really does affect how you project. If you're royal or such, or if you're just a vagabond or out there, those things come through your physicality, and so that helped me in the booth. I would get the situation, try to run it through my mind, throw out what I had, and either the director said, yeah, that's great, let's go for it. Or they would have in their mind what they wanted from the beginning before I even walked in the booth. And I'm good with that too. They'll say, yeah, that's great, but let's try it this way. And they'll even sometimes say it the way they want to hear it. And I'll try to match it as best possible. And they're like, oh yeah, that's great. It's like, no, make it a little bit more whiny or something like that, and that's fine too. So the director styles really are different. All of them are great. All the ones that I've worked with have been just phenomenal. But having that actor experience, I can't tell you how, because it's made such a comfort level in me. It's automatic. And I went back and I was listening to some of your podcasts. I went back like the 6 years or so. And one of them that I listened to was Jenny Kwan. And she made a great point. She said, do it because you love it, which was absolute. Don't do this because you're trying to get into the business. But she said overnight success could take 10 years. And that's true. A lot of people say up and comer Daniel Baugh is doing Jimbei and no one's heard of him overnight, and I'm like, yeah, overnight for 30, 40 years, I guess. You just, you get popular at some point, over something, kind of the Andy Warhol thing. But anyway,
to even dive into that a little bit, because I've been doing this for like 10 years now. So now I'm finally getting to where I want to be. And it's so true. Just, it takes a very long time.
Yeah. And the experience is everything. I have people send me email, especially young voice actors. And I was even listening, on your podcast. One of your voice actors said when he started out, he was calling other voice actors to get tips. I get a lot of asked for tips from up and coming voice actors all the time, send an email. And I'm kind of flabbergasted at what to say, because it's usually the kind of the same thing is, hey, look, your best route, at least in my case, was to get the theater chops first. You get the theater chops, you're an automatic actor, you do improv, you don't throw these things out there. You get that first, and then that becomes secondary once you get in the booth, because once you get in the booth, then all of a sudden it's all the mechanics. It's, okay, I've got to match flaps. I have to breathe at a certain beats. I'm going to need to have 4 syllables here. I need to stretch out that last note for 4 seconds. I've got to count these things. So many times in the booth, I'm watching like Jimbei scream or somebody scream or whatever character I'm doing, and I'm counting how long they're screaming for. And so I get like, okay, they scream for 4 seconds. So then when I'm doing it, I'm sitting there, just to have it in my head, how long to do it for. So yeah, it becomes like you just have to concern about the mechanics at that point. So it really makes it a lot easier to get the stuff done. And I know a lot of people that watch anime and they go, oh, I'd love to do that, but I really don't want to do any of that going through the acting stuff. I just want to go out there and show my funny voices. I got lots of funny voices. Yeah. So a lot of people have a lot of funny voices. Doesn't necessarily mean they can put it all together. It is quite complicated in ways, but the more experience you have, the less complicated it is.
Yeah, and obviously I do want to dive into Jimbei, because that's kind of the big role that you got. And so how did that even all come about? Because obviously he comes in towards the later, probably the middle of One Piece is a fair assumption. And he comes in, he obviously has a presence before his character is known, and then he's a warlord, and stuff happens, and then other stuff happens. And so how did this all come out? Because it's a very prominent role, and it's still only gotten bigger at this point.
Okay. I'll tell you the whole Jimbei story. I was called in and I was doing Walla for Funimation. And one day I was doing Funimation, and they said, this is a show called One Piece. And the director at the time of that particular show, Joel McDonald, he tried to explain it to me as best he could. And me and the other people that were doing the Walla were just flabbergasted. Okay, you talk into shells to speak, all this different stuff. And so I was like, man, this is really a cool show. This is an amazing show. Whoever created it has a huge imagination. And I still feel that way. He's a genius. The way he threw the character down as being, mentioned, and then hundreds of episodes later, he comes in, and he does that with all of them. And that's the crazy part. It's amazing. So anyway, I was in the booth, and I was doing my voices for Walla and additional voices. Sometimes we do voices for just a character that has a couple of lines, and then that's it. And so I was doing those kinds of things. And Joel asked me, hey, would you like to read for this character? He's a big, gruff warlord, fish man. And what? And he showed me the clips and everything, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I love this, And so I was going through my mind, okay, big, he's robust, and gnarly. And so it's basically doing McGruff the crime dog with gills. So I threw that out there, and they said, okay, well, hold on a second. And so they leave you in the booth. And then when you're in the booth, it's just quiet. You're just thinking, okay, are they going to escort me out of the building because they said, okay, we've had enough of your shenanigans, or what? So he comes back and he says, you know what? I talked to my superiors, and they want to roll with the voice. So if you are able to do this, we would like for you to be this character. And so I yeah, of course. Absolutely. And so I jumped on it, and that's when I started realizing how big it was. I had no clue how big One Piece was. I started getting emails from Japan, the Philippines, and stuff. Then I started realizing the scope of it, and that put a lot of pressure on me. I thought, man, so I've got to watch some of these shows. I don't want to be embarrassed if fans ask me some of the most simplest of questions. I want to be able to, pass muster on some of it. I haven't watched every episode. I'll just say it out there. I have watched like the first like 20 episodes, and then I jumped pretty much right into Impel Down where I started, backed it up a little bit so I could have the foreground to it, and then started watching it sporadically through that, and keep myself, watching an episode every once in a while when my wife goes out of town and I can monopolize the TV. But yeah, and I get people that come up to me, and they'll recognize me, and I feel flabbergasted. I kind of don't know what to say. But the Jimbei character, it has basically changed my life. I didn't think it would. I thought it was just this throwaway role. But it really has changed my life on how I have to deal with things. Some good, some bad. But
So
in general, it's all been good.
Yeah, to even go further into this, because obviously you have Jimbei refusing to go against Whitebeard. He obviously is well respected as a character, and I mean, I'm presuming this is well known. I feel at this point in One Piece, so I'm not ruining anything. And then he's an Impel Down, and then he basically becomes an enemy, essentially, of the world government after being a warlord. And so there's a lot of emotion going on because you have Jimbei, who is close with Whitebeard, is close with Ace during that. And so what was this like? Because Jimbei has a crazy evolution going from being a warlord, protecting Fishman Island, to then opposing the government because he can't oppose Ace. And then breaking out with Luffy, trying to basically, free Ace and Whitebeard. And that entire Whitebeard war that then changes the dynamic of it. And then I think Luffy offers Jimbei a spot on his crew, and Jimbei declines initially because he has something to finish up as well. And then eventually Jimbei joins the crew later on. And so what is this like? Because there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of complicated stuff going on. There's a lot of interesting dynamics going on with Jimbei and Luffy. And so what is this like for you? Because it's very rare that a character goes from being a major character, taking a massive break, and then joining the Straw Hat crew and being the 10th member and having every single emotion and really getting to experiment, I feel, is what you got to do with Jimbei in so many ways.
Right. Yeah. There's almost like a time skip just for Jimbei. When he first started out, everything was so heavy. Everything he said was very serious. And I don't want to say he was one-dimensional, but he was very serious. You rarely saw him joke, smile, laugh, or anything like that. After the blood transfusion,
What just happened?
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good.
Where was I?
After the blood transfusion.
Yeah. After the blood transfusion, and he asked, if you wanted to join the crew. It seems like at that point, things started changing a little bit. You started seeing a little bit more humor in it. Lately, there's been all kinds, and as an actor, that really opened it up for me because I got to play with the role, and the directors got to allow me to play with the role, and we had a lot of fun with it. When I love seeing Jimbei with the cone eyes poking out, and screaming. It seems like as he's joined the crew now, his realms of emotion have expanded, and it's almost like a different character. So it has been a bit of a challenge, but it's been a freeing challenge, and it's been very interesting. And I'm interested to see, where this goes into the future.
And even to talk about that, because obviously Jimbei has a major role in Impel Down that leads into the Whitebeard War. And I'm gonna, obviously, the more times you're in an episode with a character, it's obviously work. It's obviously cool to express that character as well. And you also get that character development. And now the fact that Jimbei has joined the crew at this point and is now part of the crew, is now dealing with, the Straw Hats. He's a main character. And it's like, getting upgraded. It's kind of like, back in the day, on Days of Your Past, sometimes characters got elevated and then they join the main cast. That's kind of what sort of happens. What is that like for you as well? Because I feel that as a character, Jimbei is now more front and center on this.
Yeah, yeah, and it's been a little strange because I've had to kind of go back and reevaluate the relationships that Jimbei has had with the other crew members, with like Nami and Zoro and Sanji and because it's evolving even as we speak now. And with Oda, the way he throws things at you, and a thing that I have to kind of fight off is being prejudiced as also being a One Piece fan. I'm not saying I'm the greatest fan, but watching and stuff, these characters do grow on you, and like there's sometimes that I want to kick Sanji's ass as a fan, but I don't want it to affect how Jimbei relates to him, and I'm afraid that might be in the back of my head and come out and be like real sarcastic. It has happened once where I delivered a line real sarcastic, like, and they're like, I said, let's go back and re-record that. I don't know why it slipped out that way. It just did. But yeah, the dynamic is really incredible, and it's always evolving, so it's always keeping me on my toes for sure.
And obviously, one of the cool things is that obviously Jimbei is the helmsman now. And so Nami is the navigator. Jimbei is the helmsman. And so that's also cool too, is that you got this massively diverse crew. And arguably, One Piece has probably the best main cast of the 10. I think is a safe assumption in a lot of ways, because if you look at all 10 of the Straw Hats and who plays them, it's an unbelievably talented voice acting cast. And so what is that like for you? Because obviously you're in the booth alone. And I don't know how many people know that about voice acting. But at the same time, it also must be reassuring knowing that, hey, you got some of the best that have been in Funimation for the last 20 years working on this show. And that that even though you're not directly reporting against them, that their interaction with you is going to be where you need to be, and you need to be where they're at as well. And so what is that like? Because as a fan of it, I get the end product. So I hear your voice with Brina Palenti's voice, with Chris Sabat's voice, and everybody else's voice, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, luckily, a lot of that falls on the director's continuity. A lot of times, they'll play a clip before you do the voice, and I'll hear Colleen doing her Luffy, so I'll know how she's delivering it and things like that. So that happens every once in a while. Not that often, but in most cases, the director has the continuity to where they knew what happened immediately right before. And if it doesn't fit, they come back and say, hey, you need to be more serious about this, or you need to be lighter about this. And that happens. But yeah, working with the cast of One Piece, the main cast, the crew cast. Well, there's a lot of people in One Piece, very talented that aren't on the crew. The whole thing it's amazing. I'm very blessed to work with them. Some of them are truly amazing with what they do. I've watched them in progress working in the booth, and it's like, wow, that's good. I'm not that good. I'll be honest, I'm not. But I do the best I can. I fall back on my acting. I try to be true to the character. So
isn't it nice the fact that there is so much, and I hate to use the word money because, but I think it's sort of the right term, where there's been a lot of money that's been invested in One Piece. both in Japan and in America. And Funimation has put really a lot of money in searching for the right voices and making sure that those voices fit those characters. And so, as a fan, and I would imagine as an actor and as a voice actor, it's nice when you realize that a company has said, look, we want the people who are perfect for these characters. And they need to be perfect in how they function, because if one thing is off, where, and I'll use your character, if Jimbei is off and doesn't interact correctly with Luffy, it's going to be spotted miles out.
Right.
And so that must be nice, I would imagine, for you, that because not every anime is like that. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean when animes miss, sometimes it's bad, where it could just be that line. But with One Piece, it doesn't miss.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what's crazy about One Piece. And even a bad episode, or an episode that is sort of just a calming episode where nothing major happens, it still doesn't miss on the voices.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine it's a different experience. It's similar to Dragon Ball Super in a lot of ways. It's
Yeah.
very similar to that as well, where you can tell that it is to like the second is
Yeah.
perfect on the characters. And it just must be really nice to be on a show that does that.
It really is, and the directors do an absolute wonderful job. And a lot of the things that people don't know about it is a lot of the things have to be cleared from Japan, from the original sources and stuff. So they had to go and check and make sure that things are okay. My voice, they had to check and make sure that I was okay for the character. They said, they probably say, hey, yeah, pitch him down a couple notches, we'll be fine, you know. But yeah, it is incredible. It's also a little scary knowing that there's so much. I am really excited about Red. I'm waiting for it to be announced what theaters I can go see it, because I want to see it in the Japanese version. But I guess it's going to be fall.
See, what I'm excited about for Red, and I'm gonna have to buy it off of eBay. In Japan, they have the Gum Gum popcorn holders, so it's crazy what's going
I
on with
saw
Red.
those.
And they're super expensive on eBay right now, and I'm not very happy about that. But the idea is that I am excited to see One Piece Red. I'm not exactly sure if One Piece Red is canon, if it's not canon, if it's half canon. I know that it's technically 3 episodes it's counted as, I think, in like the 20th season, but it's a movie. But it's going to be super exciting, because this is Jimbei's first movie, I think, as part of the Straw Hat Crew. And so what is this like for you? Because this is a big deal. I just saw One Piece Gold, and I love One Piece Gold. I love that character. I thought Keith Silverstein was brilliant as the villain.
Yeah.
In that. But what is this like for you to now be in a One Piece movie and getting to record it and it being in theaters? Because we all know that One Piece is just a big, big powerhouse, and it's a big deal. Anytime a One Piece movie comes out, it's a big deal. It's enjoyable, and they're fun.
Right. I was in one of them without even knowing it. I looked it up and I saw a credit where it showed the flashback with Luffy. I think it had one line in it. It was like, oh wow, I was in a movie. Who knew? But as for this one, ask me again. The first of the year. I'm hearing a lot of rumors. I don't want to say anything. Because
I mean, you're in the movie, right? I didn't get that wrong. I think that's
am.
not anything that I just broke news.
No. I'm not breaking any public disclosure statements by saying I'm in the movie, but yeah, the characters in the movie, and if they don't replace me, I'll be in the movie. But yeah, I'm hearing rumors, and some people are contacting me about a whole bunch of stuff, all centered around this movie, and it's a little frightening. I've never done a convention before. People are saying, when are you going to do a convention? Well, no one's really asked me. They asked me once for one during the COVID lockdown, and I was like, I don't feel really good about doing it right now. But you know, one of these days I'm going to be out there, and one of these days I'm hearing that Jimbei might have a Funko Pop, and that would be awesome. I'd love to have one myself.
So even going further into this, and not going down that road, But what is this like? Because at this point now, Jimbei, I feel, has reached what I call critical mass. And critical mass theory is that you have so much saturation into something, whether you have 100 episodes into an anime, that you're a main character, that you're a stable in that. Obviously, Jimbei is now on the crew. He's had a prominent role so far in Wano. And I mean, the manga's out. I'm not going to go ruin the manga if anybody hasn't read it. But Jimbei plays a relatively important role in that entire arc. I think is a safe assumption.
Mhm.
And so what is this like for you? Because now I feel like you're like, okay, you've now come to this position. It's the same thing that happened to Brooke. It's the same thing that happened to Frankie. I feel when those two characters join the crew, is they reached a certain point where like, okay, now we know they're here for the rest of the show.
Right.
And so what is that like? And then you're in the movie and now people are like, okay, this is not just he's there for 3 episodes and then he's gone.
Yeah. Well, they told me back when I took the role on that, okay, you're going to go away for a while and then you're going to come back. You're going to have a lot of work. And I did. And I'm still getting work from it. It goes in peaks and valleys, of course, just like the show does.
It's a gift that keeps on giving, right?
Right. But I read where the Japanese voice of Luffy said that she wanted for Luffy to be her last role. She wants to finish it out and finish on Luffy. I'm at the age where this may go a couple more years, and that's about right. I want to finish with Jimbei. I really do. I don't want to die before he dies, or before before the show ends. But I do want to finish this role. This has been my favorite role. I have done some other small roles, but nothing compares to what this has done.
So to even go further into this, because obviously Jimbei and One Piece in general, I think if you have a reoccurring role and a relevant reoccurring role on One Piece, it adds a lot of clout. And it sounds a weird word to say that, but I think that obviously everybody needs money to operate. Everybody needs things, food, shelter to operate. But then you get to a stage, I feel, where it's like you want clout. And you want to, I guess, a form of respect to some degree. And so I feel like Jimbei is sort of that role at this point for you. Money's good too, and getting paid for it is great too. But there gets to a point where not everybody who is a voice actor gets a role that carries clout, that carries respect, and carries saying, "Oh, I know that character." Like I go to my friends, and they're not big One Piece fans. We're gonna go see One Piece Red when it comes. But it's the idea that, they know who Jimbei is.
They know who he is.
And so what is that like for you? Because that's what it sounds like. Same thing with that Japanese voice actress who wants to play Luffy. Everybody knows who Monkey D. Luffy is. Whether you're an anime fan, whether because it's pop culture at this point. So what is that like? Because, technically you could have any role you really want if you really wanted to go after it and you auditioned enough. But you want those fun roles like Jimbei, or having a major role in Dragon Ball Z, or there's other shows that are like that. A show like My Hero Academia has a few major roles that really have that same vibe. So what is that like for you? Because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm totally mind blown. I'll be honest. It's been incredible, and I try not to think about it too much because I suffer from anxiety some, and I don't want that much pressure on me. But it is really incredible. It's humbling, and I know that I'm extremely lucky and fortunate to have been placed in this role. I'm not sure how, I might think about this 5-10 years from now. I may come back and say, this thing ruined my life, but right now it's wonderful. And it does keep like a roller coaster. It just keeps clicking up, click. It keeps getting bigger and bigger every day. And it's astonishing to me. And it's just amazing to know that I'm part of a huge universe.
Arguably one of the greatest animes ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to fathom. Um, it's incredible. And if I really wrap my head around it, I probably would just curl into the fetal position, crawl under my table, and never come out. But so far, it's just been fun, and I think that's been the key. Everybody that's at Crunchyroll, who was previously at Funimation, everything from all the staff, everybody, the engineers, especially, my God, they're patient. Engineers, the directors, the everybody, talent coordinators, they've all been so nice. And I guess it's the younger generation is a lot nicer than us old farts. They're just so polite, so sweet, so understanding. It's incredible. And they're so patient and they love it. That's the thing. They love what they're doing, and it's infectious. It makes you love what you're doing going in. And I'm sure that they would spot someone who didn't love what they were doing and they wouldn't be up there anymore. And so most of the people that are doing this, that are actually coming up with the characters and letting everybody know, hey, I got a new character, they love it. That's the reason they're doing it. And that's the reason I'm doing it. And like I said, this One Piece thing is it's phenomenal. It's changed my life. I don't have the words to express what it's actually done.
And I'm sure, and you don't have to answer this question. You can just plead the fifth. Obviously, there's merchandise with Jimbei that has already come out. That I know. So there's shirts with Jimbei, there's prints, there's posters with Jimbei. There's obviously, if it doesn't already exist, at some point there's going to be a plushie of him. At some point, I mean, this isn't me breaking any public disclosure. And then I don't know if Jimbei's been in video games yet, but that's obviously somewhere going to be on the table. Exactly. I don't know every little thing that's merchandised of him. There's probably an action figure. There's everything of Jimbei. My point is that I don't think that I'm breaking any public disclosure. I don't know when, if he's been in a video game or if he hasn't been, but we all know it's coming. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that one out.
Yeah.
But my point is that very much with One Piece, it is the gift that keeps on giving. Obviously, Oda said he's on the last arc. I think he's lying, but that's just me. I think he's lying. I think he's a horrible liar because, and if he is on the last arc, we know it's another 10 years. So
it's going to be just a long, long arc.
the third act of One Piece, everybody's going to be like the next 10 years. And I know that Wano's not finishing up till probably middle of next year as far as the anime. I know that much just because I think Funimation releases like 40 episodes a year of One Piece now, which is a lot. I mean, that's a lot. But what is this like? Because there's really an infinite amount of possibilities. Even once the anime is done, there's so much possibilities with One Piece, whether that's video games or them just doing films after and just doing side quest adventures and being even part of that universe. What is that like? Let alone, I mean, the Ace story, that's a whole different thing. Who knows? Maybe Jimbei will get his own like 12 episode arc. I mean, anything at this point is possible. We've seen it with Naruto, where all these characters have gotten 6 episodes to themselves based off of light novels. And so what is this like? Because at this stage, anything is possible in One Piece. And that's why it's such a crazy, crazy story. And I have my own theory where I'm just waiting for One Piece, the next generation. I'm just waiting for that. I'm just waiting for that. That's going to blow away One Piece. Go 100 years in the future after Luffy and this entire crew's done. And the second or the third generation of the pirate crew, oh my God, that's going to blow away One Piece to shreds. And One Piece is already great.
I could definitely see that. And as for all the stuff that might happen right now, bring it on. I haven't been approached for a video game yet. I'd love to be. My contact information is on my website. We'll talk about that later. But right now, I'm pretty much open to anything.
And all I know is that I'm very excited for One Piece Red because I know that's coming. I think Shanks needs to go to How to Be a Good Father class. I'm clearly not getting welcomed into Funimation after that statement. Clearly, whoever plays Shanks, I'm clearly not getting an interview with them either. But all jokes aside, it actually looks like an amazing movie. It's going to be fun in Japanese. I'm going to go see it in English. I'm going to go buy it when it comes out in English because I'm excited for it. But I do want to back out of One Piece because I probably can ruin half of everything that's gone on in One Piece, and I might get you and me both in trouble. But I am curious about things outside of One Piece a little bit and more in voice acting. And obviously, COVID has messed stuff up because you came into voice acting before COVID. COVID happened, and then everything had a transition. I think to doing it in your own studio. Some people understood how to do that. Some people didn't. Also, auditioning changed. I think that there are both positives and negatives. So, how did the COVID era or COVID affect all of voice acting? Because I think a lot of people don't realize, and this is my take, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it was in studio and then some of it was out of studio. And then also during the COVID era, some of it was also done in studio as well, but there was massive precautions. And again, I'm not a voice actor, so that's what I know.
Yeah, when COVID hit, it pretty much shut things down right away, and it got to be where they were relying heavily on people recording from home that had the quality studios. I was asking the directors, "Hey, what do y'all prefer?" Because there was some in studios, but like you said, being so precautious. Basically, they hire someone to go around and sanitize everything you touch in there all the time. You wear the mask all the time. So many protocols. You had to fill out a survey before you entered. You had to show your inoculation status, all these different things, more than I could possibly imagine any company doing. So they did what they could do. But they didn't have a lot of people coming out there. I was one of the ones that would come out there and do it, mask up and do the things. But they were also catching stuff from people's studios. And I asked them because I was seeing the auditions coming down through emails, and they were saying, do your recording, send it in. And I was thinking, this is great for the auditions because they can be pretty simple. They can tweak voices, but an audition piece can be pretty simple. It's not something that you have to have the best equipment on. However, if you're doing a show, you need the good equipment. And I was asking the directors, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to be in studio or at home? They said, well, at home, if the people have the right equipment, everything's fine. It's just when they don't, it can be a nightmare, things like that. And so I think they all enjoy being back in the studio. And the new studios, when they went from Funimation to Crunchyroll, they went to a different studio location wise, and the studios are lots bigger, lots bigger, and so just the whole open atmosphere of the building is really good, and I think that gives people some confidence in coming back in the way that they do their protocols for staying safe. So I think things are starting to get back to normal. Almost everybody is back in there. I'm sure that there's some people that have moved, though, that are still in the show or other shows that want to, still keep their character going. And so they probably have some way of getting their stuff into them. I don't. I've just got a little snowball speaker here at the house that I use occasionally. But I'd go to the studios and let them work their magic.
Yeah. Did you also feel that it has expanded a little bit what can be done? Because I know people who have really, really good home studio setups. And I know people in Texas who have really good stuff. Yeah. And like they spent like a good like 20 grand. Yeah. And they obviously do commercial work. They do other stuff too outside because little known secret, everybody, voice acting, unless you have a lot of roles, it doesn't pay the best. Just giving everybody a heads up. It's a dirty secret. Yeah. I don't really care if I expose it because it's sort of well known. But I know that a lot of people do that. And that's why they have it, because commercial work is nice. But do you feel that it also has expanded because if you can have a good home studio, you could be technically in the middle of nowhere, but you could be working for Funimation Crunchyroll, or they could go get something. I think Keith Silverstein's a good example, where he's out in California, but he was a villain in a One Piece movie. And so all of a sudden, if you have the perfect voice, it can be done. Or if you're in a movie and the movie is 2 hours, maybe you go out to Texas for a week and you bang it out. And you do like 20 hours sessions essentially to make sure that everything's right. But that's just my take. Again, I am not in this space. Anime to me is a relaxer. It is not something I want to participate in as a voice actor.
You're a smart man.
I do a million things in my life. I buy and sell comics, and I'm a comics fan. That doesn't ruin it for me. It ruins it slightly for me. I like doing interviews because it doesn't ruin it for me. I don't want to take what relaxes me and ruin my life. It's just how I function. But I digress. And you did mention that, you haven't been to a con yet and you got offered it. But what is that like for you? Because now, and I'm going to say this in the nicest way, you're a little bit older. And so, and also you have a bunch of Walla, things that you've been in and a bunch of great shows that you've been in. And then you also had like a character or two in Attack on Titan, and I think Overlord as well, and a few others, but nothing major. No offense.
No, I love what I do. They have me doing these additional voices, and I love the variety of it, and I love the challenge of it, because a lot of times it's a 1 or 2 line thing. One of the shortest ones I had was they came in and told me, okay, be a content piece of seaweed. Roll. Like, ha-ha! And cut it, got it. It's in the bank. I love that stuff. And so, and to be honest, when you talk about the age thing, commitment wise, the One Piece thing made me a little nervous. But I want to do this as long as I can. I know that voices change, and a lot of things with age can get a little rough on you, especially if you're doing the gruff voice all your time. So I want to make sure that, I'll always enjoy it, and I'll do it as long as I enjoy it. And I'm at the age right now where I can still travel if I need to do a convention. But there will become a time where I probably won't.
So what is that like, though? Because I don't think you've done many, if any at all. And what is this like? Because cons have changed, and cons are fascinating now, where a con has everything in it, where a lot of times there's these mega cons. And so you got wrestlers from WWE there, you got AEW wrestlers, you got people like Will Wheaton, and then you got all these voice actors there too. And it's become very much a mega pop culture con. And so what is that like? Because I don't know what cons are reaching out to you. An anime con is a little bit different than a Comic-Con. But what is that like? Because people know who Jimbei is. And it is a draw to some degree. And so what is that like? Because when you do go to cons, and obviously with One Piece Red coming and this Wano arc and then going into this, it's kind of the cool thing is that, people say, hey, look, I want to get something signed. I want to get season 20 of One Piece signed. I want to get, my statue signed. I want to get a print. I want to get a photo with the voice actor. I want to get my poster signed from One Piece Red. That's a big thing. That's something that I like, where I have posters and I like getting it signed by the entire cast. So what is that like going into that and actually getting to meet fans?
I would love to do it. I've never been to a convention even as a fan. I've seen them. I know what happens. I've seen videotapes. Video. Oh my God, I'm old. The reaction that I get from the One Piece fans is incredible. And it's usually just one-on-one. I'm in a restaurant or something, and they're talking to me. And it's incredible the depth of love that people have for this show. And so I respect that. And I know that these people have paid money to this huge universe that I'm a part of. And so I have a little bit of a responsibility to at least, not only do the best that I can and do a little bit of a research for it and everything, but to listen to them, and yeah, if somebody wants something signed, I'll sign it. Um, I, it's incredible the love that they have for the show, and I understand it because I have the love, but I I'm just the casual fan, so to speak. I know the people that have watched every episode, and I know how important it is to them. I've read some things online about how important things are, and it's usually the people that aren't very happy that are the most vocal. But I also hear a lot of vocal people that are very positive to me, and that's what always keeps you going. You try to remember the most of it. And one of my first director, Joel McDonald, told me, I was like, I was like reading on a Reddit, and he goes, "Let me stop you. Don't don't." And he said, "Listen, there's a lot of people out there that think they can do it and they can't do it, but they'll bitch that you can't do it or say that you can't do it, or they'll have some reason for hating you. And there's some, if you will look down and if you start to doubt yourself, just look at what other people say about some of your coworkers. And it's the same thing, it's just people that are just sad in their lives. And so they got to, take
So
it out on
true.
social media or something. But
It's
I try
so
to concentrate on the people that love the show because I do know that it means so much to them. And in this day and age, with everything that's going on, and that's a quote, everything that's going on, we need this outlet. This is my outlet. I work a full-time job. You said you worked, with collectible comics. I work with collectible books, so we have that in common. But I have a full-time job. I'm also a full-time caretaker for two people. So my plate is full, and so this is my outlet. This brings me joy, and I'm a Scorpio. So if it ever stops bringing me joy, I'll quit it in a heartbeat. But right now, I love it, and I can't get enough of it.
No, 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 no. What you said is so true. In which that people hate me for doing this. People hate me on what I do, and my solution is that okay, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to
Right,
any interview I do. And you know what it is? You don't have. I'm not charging anybody to listen to me. And you know what it is? If you don't like it, change the channel and move
right,
onward. I don't love every single arc of One Piece, but I love the show as a whole.
yeah,
And so that's how I view it. Where and look, I know I can't do certain things. I know I can't do certain things, and so I understand. That's why I don't criticize voice acting. I'll criticize a casting choice sometimes, saying I don't think that this person was casted correctly. I think this other person, but that's an open debate, and that's usually what me and my friends talk about. But we don't go on Reddit.
right.
We go
Yeah,
on Reddit sites.
you're talking about your limitations. You know what you can't do. I've got a fan in Japan that she told me that she went and saw the episode and saw Jimbei and loved it. And my first question was, "Does he sing?" She's like, "No." Oh, thank God, because I did not need to try to come up with Jimbei singing. Just to imagine it hurts.
I'm not gonna lie. I might
I'm
write
sure it'd be
Oda.
death metal.
I might write Oda a letter just to get that in there now.
It would have to be death metal. It's the only thing I can think of. The Cookie Monster growl. Yeah.
But I digress. I don't want to ruin anything. I don't want to get you or me in trouble. I still want to go through the entire One Piece cast. I have 8 more to do of the crew now. So I got to interview Brina, and Brina is fantastic. And my next is Stephanie Brennan, who's Nico Robin. And yeah, eventually I'm making my way through everybody, and then that would be fantastic. So I'm working on it, everybody. It might take a few years, but I'm sure I'm going to get at least half the cast at some point on this show. But I do want to give you a chance to self promote yourself. So where can people find you, bother you, hit you up, tell you how good you are? Yeah, or how bad you are. You know,
Right.
I believe in freedom, guys. I believe
Right.
you have the right to express your opinion, but it's
And
just that it's an opinion.
yeah, and being a theater actor, you get negative criticism. That's part of the game. And sometimes they're just honest. So you just got to listen to it. Yeah, you're right. I did suck on that. But I do have a website. It's what is it? Daniel Baugh voice actor, or not voice actor, VA. So it's danielbaughva.com. And there it also has a link to my Twitter account, which is the Baugh Actor Man, and Facebook actor Daniel Baugh. But if you go to that danielbaughva.com, it has links to all that. And I didn't do that to try to be a big wheel voice guy. It was just like I was getting bombarded so much on my personal accounts. I was like, I got to set something up to direct people to it. So it's there. It's brand new. It'll probably get more action later. Right now, it's not getting anything, but but we'll see.
And I'll be including it in the link, everybody. So when this goes up and goes out, it'll be out there. And furthermore, and I'm going to keep saying it, you have to support what you like, and you have to support the people who are in it. And I'm going to keep saying it. And what that means with voice actors and the shows they're in, you got to watch those shows. You got to share that you're watching those shows. If they are selling prints on their website, their store, anything signed, shout out, anything of that nature, if they got to GoFundMe, buy me a coffee, anything like that, you got to go support it, because at the end of the day, if you don't, those things disappear. Now, I don't think One Piece is going to disappear tomorrow, but if you want it to stay around forever, go watch all the episodes. Go buy a Crunchyroll subscription. I don't think you'll be unhappy. Crunchyroll is where it's at. I don't know if Funimation has their website still open, but the two companies are the same now. So whatever's on Funimation's on Crunchyroll, and whatever's on Crunchyroll's on Funimation. But you need to watch One Piece every week, and whether you're starting brand new or not, you have to do that. And furthermore, you have to buy merch from people when you go to a con and when you're not at a con, because it does make a big difference.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned about supporting this show, obviously I have a buy me a coffee link. So if you want to see what I'm doing here, that's fine. If you want to advertise on this show, you could hit me up, or you could go through buy me a coffee. If you want to just make me smile, please share it out. That's really what I want. I would like a share. If you are a voice actor or actress, please come on my show. I have Danny Chambers coming on later this month, so that's going to be fun. I'm super excited for that. That just came in last night and it's confirmed. So that's everything I got going on. My social media is at Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, at Pop Anime Comics Instagram, Facebook page is Pop Anime Comics, YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. So you can bother me there, and anything that is Pop Anime Comics is mine. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Well, just real quickly, if you get a chance, try to get Pam Doherty, Big Mom. She would be a good interview.
I'm always open to suggestions. I am slowly making my way through One Piece, but I am not going to accept that as the final word. So final word.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for having me on. It was great fun, and hopefully people will see this and understand me a little bit better and not have any misconceptions. But thank you so much, and it's been a real pleasure. And like I said, we should check back in 6 months and see how things are. See if anything changed.
Well, I'm down. I'll mark it right now on March 14th. We'll do it. We'll do it wherever it is. March 14th. It's official. I don't know if it's going to be March 14th, but we'll do it in March.
We might have to wait a little longer. Who knows? Well, thank you so much, Andrew. This has been great.
Well, I think that's a perfect ending point, everybody. And that is